Hi, welcome to Punch Perfect Boxing. And in this video what I like to do is to take a look back at the World Heavyweight title fight between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz and my thoughts on that fight. But before I start, what I must say is utmost respect to Andy Ruiz. He fought a great fight, he upset all the odds, and he became Mexico's first ever World Heavyweight Champion. So massive respect to you, Andy. Now, let's have a look at the fight. Andy Ruiz comes out with a nice, tight, active guard. He's looking to set up shots, there's some head movement, and he's looking to close the distance between him and Anthony Joshua to get into range to fire some shots. Now, what I like about a tight, active guard is that you're always in a position whether to defend or throw shots, and your opponent doesn't necessarily know when you're going to throw a shot because your hands are moving and it keeps your opponent guessing. So Andy Ruiz is coming out, nice, tight, active guard. He's looking to throw shots, he's keeping his hands in a good position, he's maintaining his position in front of Anthony Joshua, and he's looking to get into range to throw some shots. Now Joshua, again, he's using a nice active guard. His main setup though is to have the right hand here cocked and ready to throw, and the lead hand down like so. And what he's trying to do, he's trying to establish his range so he can throw the right hand. And to help him do that, he's throwing out lots of probes, lots of probing jabs, just to try and establish that range. And the other thing, it helps him control the distance, and it keeps your opponent guessing because they never know when a jab's going to come or when a shot's going to come. So you're establishing your distance, range, etc. Bernard Hopkins always used to spend the first round, getting his range, getting his bearings, getting his timing down, and this is what Joshua was doing. And also establishing that range, establishing that distance. He can also throw a big looping left hook off of that if he's in the right position. So Joshua's looking to set up some stuff. Occasionally he'll jab to the body, but throwing out the probes, controlling the distance, and his feet doing the right things, moving out of range when Ruiz is coming in, and Joshua's controlling the first couple of rounds of the fight. And probably landing the better shots. A couple of times he catches Ruiz coming in, and like I say, he's controlling the distance, and it's a feeling out couple of rounds for both guys. Now the third round starts, and it's pretty much the same as the first two. Both guys trying to establish something. Then all of a sudden, both guys close the distance very quickly and come into close proximity. And Joshua does exactly the right things here, keeps his hands tight until he gets right close to Ruiz, throws a beautiful right uppercut and a short left hook. Now when you're fighting someone in close range, you must keep your punches short and sharp. If you start swinging there, you start to leave yourself open for counters. So you must keep everything short and sharp because you're in that close proximity, and you must remain defensively responsible. And it's great boxing from Joshua, like I said, short, sharp, right uppercut, short, sharp, left hook, and down went Ruiz. Ruiz got up, and Joshua now is doing all the right things. Measures him with a probing jab, straight right hand. Luckily, I think Ruiz was moving back from that and took some of the sting off of it. Now, here's where Joshua made the mistake, I believe, cost him the fight. So winning the fight up to then, I think, then if he'd have just stepped back and given himself a little bit more time instead of going in a bit crazily for the knockout and just stepping back, I think possibly he would have lasted a lot longer in this fight. And he's done it a couple of times. He's got overzealous, he's gone in swinging for the fences, and he's got caught. And this is exactly what happened this time. So if he'd have stepped back, he'd have had the round. He probably would have won it 10-8, probably won the first two, so he'd have been 4 points ahead. But he didn't. He went in and he started swinging, and Ruiz, to his credit, didn't back off, maintained his position. Then Joshua fired out a short right hand, which Ruiz slipped, and Ruiz countered over the top, caught him on top of the cheekbone, or maybe nearer the ear, and then Joshua swung a wild right hook and missed completely, and then Ruiz caught him on the back of the ear. And this punch looked to completely upset Joshua's equilibrium. He was on very, very shaky legs, and he started to totter. And a couple more punches, and as he went down, Ruiz hit him on top of the head. Ruiz hit him on top of this side of the head, and he went down. Now when Joshua got up, there's no way he looked right. Everything had gone out the window. He was on shaky legs, his punches had lost all their snap, he looked gassed, he looked completely off the pace, and I thought it's only a matter of time before Ruiz puts him down again. And wasn't very long after that, Ruiz pushed him back onto the ropes and caught him with a barrage of shots, and down he went. Now, let's just go back to that punch that I believe set the whole thing in motion. It was the punch that caught him on the side of the head by the ear. Now, if you've ever been punched on the ear or just there, it completely upsets your equilibrium if they catch you in the right place. I was caught there maybe twice in my time, and I couldn't find my feet. I couldn't, I was dizzy, I was sick. It feels like, you've drunk 10 pints and then got up suddenly and the whole world starts to turn. It completely upsets your balance and your equilibrium, and your brain just doesn't seem to work right. I think that was the punch that started the downfall of Anthony Joshua, because he was never right after that. Now, I said before, he's done this a couple of times where he's had people in trouble, and I think he just gets overzealous and tries to go in for the kill and swings for the fences and gets caught. And I think, like I said, if he stepped back, gave himself some time, it's a lesson to be learned. He needs to make sure that he's not swinging wildly, because when you're that close to someone, like I said a little while ago, you need to keep your punches short and sharp. If you miss, you can still remain defensively responsible, because if you keep those punches short and sharp, it's not that far for your hands to come back and protect your face or your chin or your body. You have to keep those punches short and sharp when you're inside fighting. So, fourth round came and Joshua came out, didn't look right, tried the occasional big shot, it didn't work. He maybe caught Ruiz, but there was no real power on the punches. And the same thing happened in the fifth. Joshua's still on unsteady legs, and he's still, he's not able to maintain the distance now because his legs aren't working properly, so it's allowing Ruiz to close that distance really quickly. Joshua's defense isn't in place because the setup that he had at the beginning with the right hand here and the low lead hand here is leaving him way open for counters. So if he'd have had a plan B, he needed to work from a much tighter active guard like he was in the beginning, instead of staying in that positioning with one hand here and the lead hand out like this. Just keep it nice and tight. But even then, I think the end was nigh. Sixth round came and there was a bit of a revival, but again, Joshua wasn't moving properly, wasn't maintaining the distance, allowing Ruiz to close things down and get into space to punch and in position to punch really quickly. And Joshua's defense, things were not working for him, and it was only a matter of time, and the inevitable happened in the seventh, and Joshua got knocked down twice more, and that was all she wrote, as they say. One point I would like to add here is I would like to say that a lot of people have said that Joshua is chinny. Okay, a fighter who is chinny, and I hate that expression, but we'll use it here because that's what people are using, wouldn't have got up in the third round. It wouldn't have got up from those two knockdowns. If you're chinny, that's it. But he survived another 3.5 rounds, and I think you have to give him props for surviving those rounds. And like I say, staying in there, he was trying to find a big shot, but really there were no real zip on his punches, there was no real power behind his punches, his balance was off, his timing was off, and it was only a matter of time. But I think, and I've seen this for years and years and years, every heavyweight can be put down. You know, they're big, strong units, and it only takes one punch to put someone down. And if you look at the recent history of heavyweight boxing, Klitschko was knocked out twice. Ruiz was knocked out twice. They've come back. I think it's possible for Anthony Joshua to come back. How he comes back, I don't know. Is it possible for him to come back? I don't know. You know, it's going to take a lot of resolve, a lot of hard work, a lot of looking at the fight and addressing those mistakes. But I think the fundamental mistake was that he got overzealous. And I think that's one thing he needs to learn 100%. He needs to back off. When he's got someone in trouble, he just needs to back off a little bit. Now for the rematch, I see Andy Ruiz being buoyed with confidence, and he's going to be a very confident fighter when he comes into the second fight. And I think he's going to try and set up some of those shots that he set up to knock Joshua out in the first fight, because I think he thinks, if I can close the distance and get in there and throw some of those big shots, I think I can get Joshua out of there again. Now if I was Anthony Joshua, I'd do what he did in the first fight, but I'd make sure that he keeps a much tighter active guard. He pumps that jab out all night. I don't think the jab was 100% on point for this fight. And if you want a masterclass on the jab, go and look at Larry Holmes, the perfect example of a heavyweight who can jab someone's head off. And he needs to be pumping out that jab all night, he needs to be on point, and it needs to keep Ruiz at a distance, and it needs to make Ruiz think. Now, the other thing I think Anthony Joshua could use is he needs to work on and off the line. If you look at Ali Fraser 2, it's a fight that most people don't look at very much. They mostly look at the first fight of the century, or they look at the Thriller in Manila. The second fight is kind of considered a bit boring and a bit academic and stuff, but if you look at it closely and you look at it with technical eyes, you'll see that Ali made massive improvements to the first fight. And what he did was he worked on and off the line. So there's Fraser, there's Ali. Ali was moving on and off the line, throwing punches. He didn't allow for the first half of the fight Joe to set his feet and throw those big winging punches, either hooks or, you know, big winging overhand rights or lefts. So he didn't allow Fraser to do that by moving on and off the line. Whereas I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua needs to use Ali's footwork, but what he does need to do is, I think, he needs to be working on and off that line. So throw a jab, move off to the side, throw another jab. Keep moving Ruiz. Do not allow him to set his feet. Set traps for him, like I said. Move him to the left, throw a jab. If he moves with you, step back to the right, throw the right hand. Keep moving him on and off the line. Do not let Ruiz set his feet and start throwing those big bombs. And I think that's very important as well. And once you establish the jab, you've moved on and off the line, I think this will force Ruiz into making mistakes, because I think he'll come forward, he'll throw the big bombs slightly off balance, and it's a great opportunity for Joshua then to step back and catch him with some hooks. So I think those three things, coupled with what he was doing in the first couple of rounds of the fight up until he got knocked down, I think it's perfect. You know, like I said, establish that jab, make sure you get back to that ramrod jab, pump it out there, probes, vary the rhythm, vary the tempo, make Ruiz back off. Make Ruiz respect that jab and establish that distance, control the distance, and then once you've done that, like I said, and Ruiz is coming in, make sure that you start stepping off from side to side. Make sure you keep on the line and then step off the line and force Ruiz into mistakes. Don't allow Ruiz to set his feet. So I'd love to see the rematch in this country. I'd love to see it at Wembley, maybe 90,000 people, get this country rocking, be a fantastic night, and may the best man win. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.